General George S. Patton, only general in American history ever to be nicknamed Georgie and Old Blood and Guts. General George Patton is one of the most famous generals in American history, bar none. Born into a family of military men, he was actually born out in California in 1885. Had an uncle by the name of Waller Patton that was actually killed in the Battle of Gettysburg, and he had a grandpa that actually fought for George Washington. And growing up, as far as his education, he was private schooled, and then he went on to a couple private schools, and then he eventually went on to the Virginia Military Institute, a lot like his father. And then he eventually went on to West Point, where he graduated, took his commission as a second lieutenant. He had a pretty impressive career as a young officer. His first post was actually with the 15th Cavalry out of Illinois in 1911. He later transferred to a post in Virginia, where he befriended then Secretary of War Henry Stimson. He was actually serving as the Secretary of War's aide at that point. He didn't see his first action until he was serving on the Mexican border, and he actually fought troops loyal to Pancho Villa. He's accredited for having the first modern military warfare because he used vehicles as part of his attack on Pancho Villa's men. Patton's role in World War I changed his life forever. He met a colonel by the name of Fox Connor, who's actually a big tank guy, and he convinced Patton to become a tank officer instead of an entry officer, and that molded the remainder of his career. After getting some schooling for tanks, he got trained up, and he really started to lead from the front. He was in a battle near Chepe, Germany. He was actually shot through the leg, and the letter that he wrote to his wife was that he was shot and went through his leg and came out within 2 inches of his rectum, and it was a silver dollar in size. That ended his combat experience for World War I, obviously due to recovery. He went on to fight in World War II. He's promoted up through the ranks by then. Once World War II kicked off overseas in Europe with the invasion of Poland, Patton actually trained in tank warfare here locally, in the United States, helping to modernize or mobilize armed forces for the United States. It was said that he was in charge of training exercises where they would utilize over 1,000 tanks in preparation for the large-scale war. Once the United States took an active role, then Lieutenant General Patton was placed in command of the 7th United States Army, where he participated over in the Sicily campaign. He was in charge at that point over 90,000 troops. He went on to command the 3rd U.S. Army and fought in theater. Found some really crazy statistics for what his command over the 3rd U.S. Army was able to accomplish. They actually captured over 32,000 square miles of enemy territory. That's almost half the state of Oklahoma. They reported that they lost over 2,100 men, but had killed over 20,000 enemy combatants. He had over 7,000 wounded, actually almost 8,000, but it was reported they wounded over 47,000. And the most interesting statistic that I found was the 3rd U.S. Army is responsible reportedly for capturing 650,000 enemy combatants. That's astonishing because that's actually a little less than the entire city of Oklahoma City. There was some controversy for General Patton on 2 particular incidents. He actually slapped 2 enlisted soldiers in the face that were in with the doctors, and they weren't physically wounded, but they were said to have battle fatigue. It's said that Eisenhower actually made General Patton not only apologize to the 2 soldiers, but also had to apologize to the doctors that were present to witness this. As General Patton died at a young age at 40. He actually suffered a broken neck in a vehicle collision where a 2.5 ton truck hit him at low speed, but he ended up having a broken neck, had complications from that, and died 12 days later. He'll be remembered for many, many years. He's a fierce general. He fought from the front. He was willing to do exactly what he needed. He was willing to put himself in harm's way, and that's what it truly means to be a great leader.